What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm JLAG.
And I'm NB.
And we are recapping and reviewing the new series, and it's called You. Hey, You. And we're recapping and reviewing the first episode, episode 1. And I don't think it has a name. It's called the pilot.
The pilot episode,
episode. So we're just going to go through our reaction of this, the whole show, and talk about the characters, and yeah.
Yeah, so we actually really, guys, if you end up liking this podcast, let us know, comment below, like our post, tweet us at recap_rewind, because we're going to do the first episode as the pilot and see if you guys do like our recaps for you. We'll keep doing it.
Yeah.
Because I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I love the first episode. And we've also read the book.
Yes. So if you head over to our YouTube channel, you can see that we did a reaction video to the trailer that came out in the summer, and we were pretty excited about it just because we had read this book with a bunch of our friends as their like book club book, and when we found out that it was going to series or to air on shows, or it was going to be a show, we thought it was a movie at first, but yeah, it ended up becoming a little mini series. And so
it has 10 episodes.
Okay.
We're on the first episode, and what's exciting about You is that it's on Lifetime.
Right.
It's being distributed on Netflix outside of the U.S. And also it's the production team that does Riverdale. So it's Greg Berlanti and his team, Sarah Gamble. So we're hoping that it's kind of like similar vibes to Riverdale and all that, which we also cover. So check that out as well. But yeah, let's get into the breakdown of episode 1. We will analyze characters. Okay, compared to the book. We don't want to spoil it for you guys, so we're not going to tell you all the things that we've read in the book.
Right.
But I do want to make some comparisons and like see what the vibe is with these characters on screen.
Yeah. So just as a spoiler warning before we start this, make sure you try to, I mean, I know that our audience might be a little niche because we're going to be talking about the book as well as the series at the same time. So if you
without giving away big spoilers.
Yeah, like I said, let us know what you guys think about the way that we recap this. If you guys are interested in listening, if it keeps you engaged, just let us know and we will continue on.
Okay, so I think let's start with the main guy,
main character,
main man Dems over here, which is Joe Goldberg, AKA, which is played by none other than
Gossip Girl.
Lonely boy
17. So
what do you think about Penn Badgley playing this guy?
So when we were reading the book, it was funny that you bring that up, because when I was reading the book and we found out that it was going to be, I think it was in the middle of us reading it. We found out that it was going to be going into series, and Penn Badgley was tapped as Joe Goldberg. I was like, of course, he's like a psycho version
that guy.
of Gossip Girl. He's a psycho version of Dan Humphrey from Gossip Girl. So it's exactly who I imagined.
There was an interview with him, with Penn Badgley, and he was like, basically, he's like the more sociopathic version of Dan Humphreys. Right. I'm like, yeah, that's totally what it is. And even just seeing him like,
spoiler alert, if you didn't watch like Gossip Girl, like he's Gossip Girl. So.
Just even visually, like seeing him on screen, like he hasn't aged. I feel like he looks basically like Dan Humphreys. His voice, everything. It's just like it was a good pick. I think
it was a great pick. Yeah. I think he's almost like, when I was reading the book, I almost imagined him a little bit creepier and a little bit more
originally. I thought I pictured him really ugly at first when I was reading the book. And then along the way in the middle, even like Beck says like, he's kind of cute. So then I was like, oh wait, he kind of must be cute then.
Right.
And he's totally cute now.
Yeah.
So I really want to get feedback from our fans, because if you haven't read the book and you don't know what to expect, what do you think Joe's character is going to get himself into, and how far is he going to take it? We kind of saw how far he takes it in the ending of this episode. So I'm interested to see like what everyone thinks, and were they shook when they saw that? So he knocks out.
Yeah, so we can talk about like everybody as it goes on, but yeah, for sure, by the end of the episode, he basically smashes somebody's head in with a mallet.
Right. So it gets violent. He takes it to that point,
and he's you can tell that he's very obsessive. How did you what did you think of how his character is the narrator of the story?
I love it. I love his voice. Just like wait, was he narrating Gossip Girl?
No, it was Gossip Girl. I mean,
Kristen
technically
Bell.
I guess yes.
But yeah, no, I love it. I think he has a beautiful voice for voiceover work. And I love the way they sort of weave in and out of him because he does a lot of like he talks in his head, I guess.
Yeah. He rationalizes a lot.
And it's hard to depict that sometimes on screen. Like in the book, it made sense and it felt right. But on screen, it's a big challenge. But I think they've done it like perfectly.
Because in the book, it's really all his perspective.
Yeah, it's all his perspective.
It's all his like twisted, crazy perspective. You get a little bit of what happens in a scene from him, but it's mostly like him interpreting what happens.
Because you're only really seeing it through his eyes, right?
And it's interesting. The one thing that I found interesting and I was really intrigued as to how they were going to show it on screen was because it's going to be his perspective, is it a skewed version? Like, you know, we watch that show The Affair and how the perspectives are a little different, not exactly different, but there are little moments where things didn't happen exactly how we imagined them happening.
I don't think it's going to be like The Affair. I think what you should know from the beginning is that this is still only one person's perspective.
It's his story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where the affair constantly like contrasts. I don't think we're never going to see probably the other side.
And ever. I think
that you never see that in the book.
Have to kind of take him as your leader in this conversation, like in the whole storyline. So everything that does happen, you have to just take it with what he's saying. I think there's moments where you notice that he starts to feel some type of way about himself. Like he says something like, you know, Beck's character, for example, he's like, I gotta save you from all these people. Those are his moments where he's just trying to be honest. Like those are his moments where he's pulling out a little of that crazy. But I think, for the most part, the plot points are honest, real moments. Like he didn't push her on the tracks. You know what I mean? Like we don't know. Like if you really think about it, that's the perspective, right? Like we're seeing a perspective that we imagine from his perspective. So we don't really know if he.
This is the thing with Joe. Honest. Like, do you think he's the anti-hero? Like, do you think you can consider him that?
Currently in the show, I can definitely see him as someone who can turn into an anti-hero just because, and this is a great point to segue to, but they are trying to, I feel like, humanize him a little bit more than they did in the book. In the book, he was a big loner. He just read books and he didn't have a lot of friends. He judged everybody. He thought that everybody sucked and you know, he was above everybody else. Like he had a very specific way of seeing things. Whereas in this show, one layer that's very important to note is he has a relationship with the neighborhood, like his neighbor, Paco or whatever his name is, and that is not explained at all in the book. I don't even think it's there, and I think that slowly when you start to humanize people with those little moments, you start feeling a little bit bad for. Of course. So he's not a full villain. He becomes an anti-hero, like you said. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think about that change?
I don't know. I feel like that's a really drastic change to make if it wasn't in the book.
Right. Yeah.
It's a really big thing. I don't know.
It's hard, and it's hard to talk about. Like it's hard to talk about the book because we know what happens in the book.
Yeah.
And talk about the show without trying to give you guys too much, without giving away too much, but. I think that as you watch the show, hopefully it's not going to be just him. You'll see a little bit more of her flaws and her faults as well. Beck, I'm talking about Beck, the main character, Beck, because I think in the book it's very one-sided in so many ways. Like he's very much the villain and she's very much the innocent one. But then she does do some things that are pretty stupid as well.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see if they're gonna keep it like this
I'll
even
just say this now,
or...
in the book there was no lovable characters. There really wasn't. Like I couldn't love Beck and I couldn't love him either. Yeah. So I'm curious to see if they're gonna make us love one or the other,
right?
Or even if that's even right to do. I don't know.
Or if it's just this twisted tale of relationships in you know, in this day and age. Because I think that's really what their underscore is in this book and this show is. You know, we put so much out on social media and, you know, that's how he kind of ends up like, you know, internet stalking her and finding out more about her is because all of her stuff is public and, he learns so much about her. He stalks her, and he finds a way to get into her life, essentially.
So I was kind of shook by this too, because we are going to focus on him a lot, like Joe Goldberg, obviously. The second season is going to be about him.
Oh.
So the second season is based on her second book, which is called Hidden Bodies. It's confirmed season 2 is definitely like coming out.
Wow.
And they're moving the production to Los Angeles. And it's going to be centered around him because he's in the second book.
Weird.
So whatever that kind of gives you guys, there is going to be a second season. It's going to be probably a lot on Joe. So I was kind of like shook at that. I was like, oh, wow. So they're like amping him up still. Like he's you know, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now we got to read that book.
Yeah.
Is it out already?
I think it's out. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think it's out.
Got to get that one in our
Yeah,
belts.
so moving from Joe Goldberg, we have the second main character, which is the girl that he is obsessed with in the first episode.
Guinevere Beck.
Guinevere. Yeah, so he sees her in the bookstore. Right away, he's like, yes, I want her.
It just starts right off the way he was like, I found you and I saw you
Yeah.
and you're beautiful.
Like, you needed me so much.
Yeah,
Because,
it's
like,
very
you didn't know what.
creepy.
Like, yeah, like, it's just, guys, the
very
book was
creepy.
so eerie. Like, you have to read the book.
And the actress, Elizabeth Lail, what did you think about the casting for her?
I think she's perfect.
Yeah.
I think she's perfect for the role.
I'm like, she is Beck.
Yeah.
Like, she looks like Beck.
Look, guys, let's be real. I don't think it's that hard to play, like,
A basic girl from New York? Is that what
you
you're
know?
trying to say? That's
You know,
throwing shade?
I don't think it's that hard, but they're not trying to fill the role of like an iconic character, like a Betty Cooper or like they're not trying to do that. She's just a basic girl from New York.
Fair.
So, but no, I think she's exactly what I probably pictured her to
Like,
be.
to your point and to your question about being an anti-hero, do you think that they're going to turn her into an anti-hero? Do you know what I mean?
Probably.
Like, because in the books she was seen as the one, in a sense, to be the victim in the story. Do you think they're going to turn her to be like not as lovable and him more lovable, just to even the playing field a little bit more in the show?
They might do that. Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. And I don't know how I feel about that yet.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I think it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see this like push and pull between two characters, because when you really think of a relationship, and if this is about new age relationships, then it is like a two-sided thing.
Very true.
It'll be interesting to see if they change the story and warp it a little bit, because we know how it ends, but it could be a completely different story by the end of it all.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm very excited to see how it all kind of unfolds.
Did you like her in the book? Because I hated her character in the book.
No, she wasn't. They definitely didn't make her enjoyable as a character. I think what I don't know if it's the writing or if what Elizabeth Lail is doing with the character, or how they sit with her a little bit longer. Because, like I said, because it's from his perspective, he kind of shames her a lot throughout the book and says, you know, you're being naive, you're being stupid, so you're already set to feel like she's not a smart person. She does end up doing some really foolish things, like keeping her things unlocked and this and this. But outside of that, you do see a very insecure young girl, and I think Elizabeth Lail brings that to the table.
Yeah.
And I think that is enjoyable to watch, and that gives her a little bit more depth than this idiot girl from, you know, who gets stalked by a guy because she's being stupid.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's kind of what you get from the book in a sense. And she kind of falls into it. And what happens at the end of the book, like I said, without giving too much away, it does really humanize her even more, I think, while you get towards the end of that end of you when you read it. Which I think they're going to start earlier on, because
they
with the
have
camera,
to make them likable, right?
Like with the camera and with the script, you get to stick with these characters longer. It's not just Joe's perspective per se. So you get to see her talk to Peach or her friends, or see her break down as soon as, you know, her boyfriend bangs her and leaves her. Like, you get to see these moments where she feels insecure and feels sad that doesn't hit hard doesn't hit home so much in the book.
Definitely, I agree. Like, I feel bad for her more in the show than I did in the book. 100%.
So far. Yeah, she's great. I think she's a great actress so far, and I think that there is some really interesting things about how it's being told, even from his perspective, and how she reacts to those things, like the thing with the professor and how she has an interaction but she feels insecure about it. Like, there's a lot of assumptions that he ends up being right about, which is kind of interesting, because you can tell that he's either very perceptive or he's just making a lot of stories in his head to think that they're true. So yeah, they're presenting it very interesting.
And then after her, we have your girl.
My girl, Shay Kool-Aid. Yeah,
Shay Mitchell.
Mitchell.
She's playing Peach.
Salinger.
Who's like Beck's best friend.
Yeah, also like a rich AF.
Rich girl. And what is her kind of role in all of this?
So she's essentially her like bestie / frenemy / like the Regina George of the group. They have like 2 other friends who are also in the books, and they do have kind of storylines, but not as extreme as Peach. Peach is like the main girl in her friends. She's like the passive aggressive mean girl,
overprotective friend,
but also like I'll need you when I need you. Like she's that girl. She's like that friend. And you see it as the show goes on, or as the book I think goes on. You see how needy she can be, and how demanding of Beck she is.
And I think she plays that like contrasting role as like from Joe. You know, Joe has Beck, but like Beck has Peach too. Like she has someone watching out for her on that side.
Exactly.
Because otherwise she really didn't have like a core friend that was kind of like worried about her.
Yeah. And what do you think of Peach so far and Shay Mitchell?
She is exactly what I imagined. Right. This girl like plays this role like to the T. Like no one else. Yeah. Like Shay, this is who you are.
This is who you are.
Like you are Peach for the rest of your life.
I'm actually so excited to see her in this role because, no offense, but like her as Emily in PLL was very like, I'm gonna just make a few looks, like little pouty faces, and like be confused all the time. But I think she's a little bit more activated in this role because it's
a little bit more activated. What?
She's a lot more activated. She's actually like, you know, playing a pretty bigger role.
She is. Yeah. And I feel like they almost glowed up her role more in the show than she was in the book.
Absolutely.
Like they put her up with like the 2 other cast members, so it's like she's like part of the trio basically.
Yeah, essentially. And I wonder if they're gonna bring that. I mean, she does play a big role.
She's in
the
all
book.
Episodes, like on IMDb. Like she's there for all 10, so she's definitely gonna be involved in like every aspect. Like
which makes sense. I think in the book she does come in and out a few times, and there's moments where they're left alone, like the 2 of them. But I think that Peach is pretty. It's going to be interesting to see her on screen because I didn't like her either. Like in the book, when I read the book, I was like, she is so unlikable.
Very extra.
She's such a she's so much that girl. If that makes any sense, if I can't be any more descriptive, it's like she's very much that like New York girl who just cares about herself and her friends and her money and I got that cottage.
So
up
speaking
in there
of money, let's talk about Beck's F-boy. Benji.
Benji, who's got the shmoney. Okay,
yeah, so Benji's got the shmoney.
Yes. So
he plays Beck's like current obsession. Like she's in love with Benji at this
like
point.
On again, off again.
Yeah, and he just uses her,
buddy,
obviously, basically. Like in and out.
Yeah. Literally.
So Joe obviously hates him from the get-go. Yeah. Let's just say that.
I mean, already it's very creepy because like he's stalking her. At this point in time, he's stalking her. And we're doing the story a little bit in Injustice, the pilot, a little bit of injustice because they do have an interaction at the bookstore, and then he like basically Google searches her and then finds where she lives.
Yeah, he's watching
and he
her.
watches her through these like big bay windows, which in the book is hilarious because
did you picture exactly like that?
Exactly.
Yeah, me too. I was like, that's exactly what I pictured.
They did exactly how they did it. She rents this like small apartment and like her windows were wide open and he's like,
she's just like
such
changing
an idiot.
in front of it, like.
And like that's the thing. I think when I was reading the book, I was wondering whether or not that was going to be the reality, like her reality.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Who, for all we know, you know,
it's him
his
being
perspective
like,
is like,
she's everywhere
oh,
open.
She's everywhere open, but like maybe she has like a few blinds, but he's the one that's peeking in, you know. So like it would have been interesting to see if that was going to be the perspective.
You know, it's interesting. Like you mentioned the affair. Like I wish they had done that. That would have been a really cool way of like being like, yo, this guy's crazy.
Yeah.
But
I think it would get too layered at that point.
Yeah, it's
and
too
like
much.
You would be very confused as to what's happening.
But definitely one of the things where I was like, is he just imagining her blinds being open? No, the girl has her blinds open. Like full out, there's no blinds.
So one of the first things that he does see her is he sees some guy come over in the middle of the night, Benji, and he like F's her. He like just like hangs out and then he F's her. And then he dips and while all of this is happening, he's watching her. Joe's watching her from the outside and he's like, he didn't make you like orgasm.
Yeah.
Or like
guys,
or
the
if you're
book
watching
gets very
Lifetime,
dirty.
it's like all
yes, and that's another thing. Like we were talking about this offline. Like Lifetime bleeps every single like dirty cuss word out, and it's so annoying.
It's annoying also because this show is very, very, very sexual.
So it's like you guys are showing her masturbate, but you guys can't like say bullshit.
Yeah,
like, I don't get.
like,
I don't
fuck.
get it. Yeah, like I don't get
stupid.
it.
They even blurred out the text messages that come up. Did you notice that?
Oh my god, I know. I was
they
like, wait, what's
blurred out text words.
Yeah, guys,
I'm
it's
like,
really
Lifetime,
weird,
really?
honestly.
Like that's a lot of work, but sure.
So I think one of the things when I was reading the book that really creeped me out was that I didn't expect it to get this sexual.
Yeah.
I just thought he was a creep. He might get violent, like cool. Not cool, obviously, but like, you know what I mean? But then it got really creepy and sexual, and that creeped me out.
Very dark.
Like it was really dark. And the show is doing it perfectly. Like he's just so creepy, and it's so creepy, but
it's
he's
just
so really good looking, so it's like really creepy, but not like it's so weird.
It's just so weird that they got past like the swear words, but like they're still able to show sexual content. Like it just like where are your priorities, guys?
I don't get it. But anyway, the show does get to those and then obviously he's outside like behind the bushes like jerking off
to her. So
like, it's just
so yeah, we're introduced by Benji. Sorry, just getting back to Benji. Back to Benji, the waste boy. He leaves and she doesn't orgasm, so then she decides to like
she like deciding whether or not he's gonna say the word or not.
I can't say the word.
His face is the best. He's like, okay, I'm gonna say
it. There's other words that I could use, but I'm not gonna use them. So she grabs a pillow and starts to masturbate.
Yeah.
And he watches her masturbate, and he was like, "Oh, he didn't make you orgasm."
Yeah, like he's like blowing himself up.
Yeah. And he's at the same time imagining himself like effing her.
Not a good scene to watch on the subway, let me just tell you right now. Turn that dimness low.
But it was very interesting to see it on screen, because in the book I don't even think I remember him jerking off.
Okay, so what do you think about that? Layers. What do you think about him literally like them showing the scene with him like with her on the couch? Like now he's not like it's really putting you into that scene.
I think I like that. I think that I hope that they do that for the rest of the show, because I think it starts to confuse the audience and show how delusional he really is.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you don't need just this voiceover being like, we need to be together.
Yeah.
Like when you read the book, obviously you can tell that he's imagining all these things in his head. I can imagine us like making love right now, and like, you know, you see it, but then when you watch it on screen, you're like, ooh, that's
and you're seeing her
stuff.
Like visually, you're seeing her with him too. So you're like, whoa, okay, but they might work, and like you're starting to see them like together, you know. So
that's
it's a very weird like.
It's very
It's a mind f for sure.
For sure.
So Benji, basically, he's just like an in and out. He's like this rich kid.
Yeah.
And like Joe really hates him. So at the end of the episode, he basically sets up like a mock interview. He pretends to be like this next level
and it
reporter.
happens so quick, because I know in the book it doesn't happen until it doesn't happen until a little bit later on. They kind of build his character up a little bit more. They make him a little bit more annoying, Benji, by the way. And you see this like frustration. I think that anyway, I don't want to spoil to the next episode or whatever. But
he sets up the interview. Benji owns like this like.
It's like a handmade soda company.
Like handmade,
So stupid.
So he's like, yo, I'm gonna go to this interview, whatever. And then as soon as Joe meets him, he hits him over the head
with a mallet.
And then takes him into the cage.
Right.
So the cage, let's talk about the cage too quickly.
Sure, let's talk about the cage.
The cage was a really big part of the book. It's basically like this underneath the bookstore, there's a bunker that the owner had built to keep like all the original books. And it's like this like glassed, really cool, modern looking box.
Yeah.
That has like special air in there.
I'm assuming
it's like airtight, soundproof. So what did you picture?
No, it's not. I don't think it's soundproof.
I think it is.
The whole basement is soundproof.
Oh, the whole basement is.
But not the actual cage, because they were able to talk through it.
So what do you think about the cage? How did you picture it in the book, and like what do you think about it right now?
So when they said cage in the book, I like went super literal, and I imagined like a gated cage, like metal cage. But you imagined it just exactly how it was pictured, right?
Yeah, totally. Like, because they did say like there's special air in there too.
Right.
So I was like, okay, it has to be a glass enclosed thing. Plus there was that door thingy that he would pass stuff
pass
through.
books through and stuff.
So I pictured that. No, they totally got it. Like I totally pictured that.
Right.
It's just so weird to me that there's this huge, amazing, cool like caged, living in this like dump like store,
Yeah,
but
so
underneath it,
random.
but whatever. Cool. So he puts Benji in there,
Right.
locks him up.
And Benji's like, I don't know what I'm
Like,
doing here.
what's going on? That's how the first episode finishes.
Yeah. So how did you think? What do you think of the episode ending?
I loved it. I think it was the perfect. I know that you're mentioning that like the book, brought Benji in a bit later on, like for that moment. But I think they had to finish with a strong ending for the pilot.
It's the pilot,
right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
I know it totally makes sense, and I think it all fit.
It just shows him like turn up so quickly that I don't know if you get even an opportunity to see how just generally
what though?
creepy
I
he
think
can
everything
be.
was
You know
fast.
what I mean?
I think even like him with like Beck, everything was so quick in that first
that's
episode.
true.
I personally loved it because like you want things to like
To
start
kinda
moving forward.
That's fair. Yeah.
I didn't mind it. But yeah, that's Benji. So Benji's just locked up with Joe at this point.
Yeah, that's how the episode ends.
We have a couple more players. Just quickly, like you mentioned Paco.
So let's talk about Paco for a really quick second, just because we mentioned earlier that he is a character that essentially he shows him how to use the mallet to like close up the book or whatever. But not only that, he also adds a layer of humanity to Joe.
Right.
And what do you think of that plot point? And what do you think it's gonna mean later on?
I think they want you to see this other part of who this guy is. And knowing what I know, I'm like, it's bullshit. But also, I get it. It's a TV show. You have to add these other layers. You got to make it a bit more interesting. You got to make him more interesting as a character a little bit.
Like the stepdad or the boyfriend of
the mom, like Paco's mom is dating some abusive guy.
Yeah. But he's also like, they mentioned he's a parole officer and he is a drunk. And do you think that he's going to become a potential victim now that we see this like maniacal, crazy side of Joe? Do you think that he could become the next person?
Probably.
Because he does say at one point, you think in this episode, he's like, I know what I have to do. As soon as he has an encounter. And I'm like, does he kill him? I'm like,
I don't know what's going on.
Because I do not remember that in the book.
But yeah, no, I think his character's cute, Paco. Let's just keep him in there for now.
I think it would be very interesting to see. This whole episode is going to be filled with spoilers if you haven't watched Game of Thrones. It's like the kid from Game of Thrones. It's not the kid from Game of Thrones, but the kid from the one at the wall.
Oh yeah.
So do you think that they could take that storyline kind of where like it turns around a little bit
maybe
in the end?
Maybe.
Anyway, I don't want to get into too many details because I don't want to screw everything up for everybody. They're gonna be like, I can't believe you talked about Game of Thrones in a new podcast. Sorry guys.
But yeah, other key players, I think, just to go over them quickly, we have the Professor Leahy, I think his name is.
Okay,
her professor,
yes,
which we're gonna probably see more of.
He's like a sex addict.
John Stamos,
yes,
is coming through,
but he's not coming through until later.
Probably later, and I think they said maybe one episode or two. He's playing her therapist. So that's going to be interesting.
Dr. Nikki.
Yes.
When I was reading those chapters.
Yeah, I remember you were like, yo, the therapist though. So John Stamos is playing him. And then there was also interesting, the role of Candace, which was, you're going to hear about her, is Joe's first like ex-girlfriend. She's tagged as like one episode. Okay. So we're probably going to see her at some point, maybe like a flashback or something.
Which is cool because I don't think we got a lot of story from her. We get very, very little. We get their origin story and how they met, I think, and
from his perspective, right?
And kind of how things kind of fell apart in that relationship. But it's interesting that they've pegged her in the cast. I'd love to see how far they take that. Storyline because
and just a hint, she looks like Beck, so
oh my god, keep an eye out for blonde girls. This is just like a PSA for every blonde girl and like everyone just
so I think that's pretty much it for like the main characters at this point. We're gonna talk more about them obviously as like the episodes go on. But yeah, like overall I'm liking it. The pilot was really strong. I felt like I liked it.
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun watch. Like I said, reading the book, it's the first time because I never read the Game of Thrones like books while like I was watching the show. Like, so this is a new experience for me to watch a show and be like, confirmed, this is what happened in the book. Like,
I do like being surprised a little bit too. Like I like when they can do that, but when you completely change like the intention of a character or something, that feels
Right.
weird to me.
That's fair.
So if they make Joe completely like good, then it's like, okay, guys, he wasn't completely good either. Like, come on.
They have to,
You know?
I guess they just have to.
It's hard.
I think they have to make him more three-dimensional because You, for one, was a very short book.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to, like, spend time with a character and make him look like he's forgivable. Not to say that what happens is forgivable in the book, but, like, it gets very dark in the sense where you're like, he is crazy. Like, you are psycho.
You're crazy.
So it's it'll be interesting to see how they play that that in the show, and how Penn Badgley plays that in, like, you know,
like so far he's been playing it amazing. So
he's
I'm
played
impressed.
it really well. He's very like determined as a character. Like, you learn that Joe's very much like that person that, like, you know, like sees something and like wants it and gets obsessed with it. So it'll be really interesting to see how Joe / Penn Badgley plays that.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Aspect. Anyway, let us know what you guys think about the show, the book, and this podcast, because we're gonna see what you guys think first.
This is very much like our pilot, because we want to see if you guys like it. If you guys want us to continue on with our recaps, we will.
Yeah.
Just let us know. Comment or like, subscribe.
Let us know if you want us to do it episodically, or
Yeah.
if you just want like a little mini
Like
check-in or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we're kind of like trying to figure that out right now.
But yeah, guys, that's it, I think, for the pilot.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Bye, guys.
Bye.